Imagine this. You're cruising down a winding country road in Willowbrook, Michigan, the kind of place where the biggest excitement is the annual Apple Festival, and folks wave at strangers like old friends. The leaves are turning that fiery red and gold, whispering secrets in the crisp autumn breeze. But beneath that postcard-perfect facade, something dark has been waiting, lurking, for years. What if I told you that one simple scratch from a loyal dog's paw could rip open a nightmare hidden in plain sight? Buckle up, friends, because this isn't just a story. It's a reminder that heroes don't always walk on two legs. And today we're diving into the incredible tale of Max, the retired canine Labrador, who turned a forgotten house into the epicenter of justice. If you're a dog lover like me, you'll want to hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, stories like this will have you hugging your furry friend a little tighter tonight. Let's set the scene. Willowbrook isn't your bustling city. It's a sleepy Midwestern gem nestled among rolling farmlands and misty lakes where everyone knows your name and your grandma's apple pie recipe. Crime. Forget about it. The local sheriff's biggest headache is teenagers joyriding on tractors. Enter Tom and Lisa Reynolds, a bright-eyed couple in their early 30s, ditching the chaos of Detroit for a fresh start. Tom's a graphic designer dreaming of remote work bliss, and Lisa's a teacher with a passion for gardening. They snag this charming Victorian fixer-upper on Maple Lane for a steel think creaky porches, stained glass windows, and enough character to fill a Pinterest board. But from day one, something feels off. A faint, musty odor lingers in the kitchen, like damp earth mixed with forgotten memories. They chalk it up to old pipes, or maybe a family of squirrels in the walls. Nothing a little elbow grease can't fix, Tom jokes, rolling up his sleeves for renovations. That's where Max comes in. Oh, Max, picture this glossy black Labrador with those soulful brown eyes that seem to see right through you, a tail that wags like it's powered by pure joy, and a heart bigger than his paws. At 10 years old, Max is a retired legend from the State Police K-9 unit, with 7 years under his collar, sniffing out lost hikers in the wilderness, and even aiding in drug busts. But life hasn't been kind lately. Arthritis has crept into his hips, slowing his once boundless energy. His handler, Officer Sarah Thompson, is like his other half, a tough-as-nails cop in her 40s, with a backstory that'll tug at your heartstrings. Sarah lost her human partner in a high-stakes raid 5 years back, a tragedy that left her questioning everything. Max became her anchor, her reason to keep going. He's not just a dog, she'd say, he's family. So when the Reynolds call the non-emergency line about that persistent smell, and their own pup barking non-stop at the kitchen wall, Sarah swings by as a favor, bringing Max along for what she thinks is a routine check. The moment they step inside, Max transforms. This isn't the laid-back retiree lounging on the couch anymore. His ears perk up, nose twitching, like he's caught a whiff of buried treasure or something far more sinister. He pads straight to the wall near the pantry, that spot Lisa had planned to turn into a cozy breakfast nook. And then, scratch. Not a lazy pawing, but deliberate frantic digs, his claws etching grooves into the faded wallpaper. Tom laughs nervously. Maybe he smells a mouse, but Sarah knows better. She's seen this before. Max's alerts are never random. In his prime, he'd pinpoint survivors under rubble during search and rescue ops, his Labrador breed's legendary scent detection kicking into overdrive. Did you know a dog's nose is up to 100,000 times more sensitive than ours? It's like they have a built-in superpower picking up on chemical traces that time can't erase. Real talk. Back in 2018, a Labrador in California scratched obsessively at his owner's backyard, leading to the discovery of a century-old time capsule buried by previous residents. Harmless fun, right? But what if that scratch uncovers something? Evil. Sarah kneels beside Max, her hand steady on his flank. What is it, boy? The Reynolds exchange uneasy glances as Max whines a low, aching sound that sends chills down your spine. They decide to investigate, grabbing a crowbar to peel back the paneling. At first, it's just water damage, moldy insulation from years of neglect.
Common mistake, folks. Homeowners dive into renos without a full inspection, ignoring those subtle warnings like odd smells or pet behaviors.
The consequences: structural disasters, health hazards, or worse, like in cold cases where ignored clues let monsters roam free. Studies show that in rural areas, missing persons reports often get dismissed as runaways, delaying justice and compounding family grief. But as they dig deeper, the air thickens with a stench that's unmistakably wrong. And then, the twist that will make your jaw drop. Behind the insulation isn't wiring or pipes, it's bones. Human bones yellowed with age, wrapped in tattered fabric that was once a floral dress. Clutched in the skeletal fingers, a delicate silver locket engraved with "Forever Mom." The room spins. Lisa gasps. Tom stumbles back, and Sarah's face hardens. This isn't a renovation gone wrong. It's a grave. Max sits perfectly still, his job done, but his eyes lock on Sarah as if to say, "I told you." Who was this woman? How long had she been walled up in this everyday home? And why did Max, of all creatures, sense her silent scream across decades? Friends, this is where trust in our animal companions pays off. They don't lie. They don't judge. They just know. Lesson learned. Next time your dog fixates on something odd, don't brush it off. It could be the key to unlocking truths we humans are too blind or too scared to see. But hold on, because this scratch, it's just the beginning as the forensics team swarms in and Sarah dives into Willowbrook's dusty archives. The real horror starts to unfold. What they uncover next will shatter the town's illusions forever. Stay tuned for the unraveling of the first victim and the secrets this quiet place has buried deep. If you thought that chilling discovery behind the kitchen wall was the end of Willowbrook's nightmare, oh boy, you're in for a wild ride. Picture this. The forensics van pulls up under those golden autumn leaves, yellow tape fluttering like ghosts in the wind. And suddenly, this quaint little town where the biggest scandal was last year's pie-eating contest gone wrong becomes ground zero for a mystery that's been festering like a bad wound. Friends, if Max's first scratch hooked you, wait till you hear how one loyal Labrador's instincts peeled back layers of secrets that could shatter a community. This is the part where the puzzle pieces start flying. And trust me, as a storyteller who's seen dogs change lives, stories like this remind us, silence isn't golden, it's deadly. Lean in, dog lovers. We're unraveling the first victim and the town's buried truths, and by the end, you'll be rooting for justice like it's your own fight. As the dust settles in the Reynolds' kitchen, Sarah stares at those bones, her mind racing. The remains. They're rushed to the lab, but Sarah doesn't wait for bureaucracy. She hits Willowbrook's old police station, a brick building smelling of stale coffee and regret, stacked with files gathering dust since the turn of the millennium. With Max by her side, limping but alert, she pulls the missing persons archives. And there she is, Emily Harper, a bright-eyed 24-year-old elementary school teacher who vanished back in 2001. Emily wasn't just anyone, she was the heart of Willowbrook, the kind of woman who organized community bake sales and read stories to kids with voices that brought fairy tales to life. Last seen after a heated argument with her fiancé, storming out into a rainy night never to return. The file labeled "Probable Runaway," stamped closed by 2003. But Sarah's gut twists. Emily had roots here, a loving family, dreams of starting her own school. Why assume she bolted? Max, ever the silent hero, isn't done whispering clues. As Sarah pores over the reports, he pads around the station's evidence room, his Labrador loyalty shining through. These dogs, bred from hardy Newfoundland fishermen's companions, have an empathy that's almost human. They sense grief, fear, even echoes of violence long gone. He whines softly at a box of old evidence from Emily's case, pawing gently as if mourning a lost friend. It's moments like this that hit home. In real life, think of the Golden State Killer Joseph DeAngelo, who terrorized California for decades until overlooked DNA evidence finally cracked the case in 2018.
causes underfunded rural departments like Willowbrook's, where budgets prioritize pothole fixes over cold case tech, leading to piles of unsolved mysteries. The consequences are heartbreaking. Families like Emily's endure endless agony, with studies showing suicide rates among relatives of missing persons spiking 20% higher than average. Compare that to urban hotspots. In big cities like New York, media storms and resources turn disappearances into headlines, mobilizing searches fast. But in quiet towns, assumptions rule. She probably ran off after a fight. They say, dismissing domestic red flags as private matters. Big mistake, folks. Police often overlook escalating abuse in relationships, filing it as non-criminal until it's too late, enabling predators to hide in plain sight. Sarah digs deeper, interviewing Emily's aging parents over tea in their cozy farmhouse. Tears flowing as they recall her fiancé, Michael Vaughn, a charming mechanic with a quick smile but a temper like a summer storm. He said she left him, her mom whispers, but Emily wouldn't abandon us. The pieces fit. Michael owned the Victorian house back then, sold it cheap after her vanishing act, and skipped town. Motive: jealousy, control, classic signs of a relationship gone toxic. But here's where the tension builds, my friends. Sarah returns to the house with Max for one more sweep, the air thick with unspoken dread. Tom and Lisa watch nervously as Max circles the basement stairs, that dim, cobweb-draped space they'd avoided during Reno's. His nose twitches, ears flatten and scratch. Not the wall this time, but the floorboards, deliberate and urgent, like he's unearthing a scream trapped in wood. They pry them up, hearts pounding, and boom, the plot twist that will leave you gasping. A hidden compartment sealed tight, holding Emily's secret journal. Pages filled with her looping handwriting, starting hopeful. Michael's sweet but intense, then darkening. He's watching my every move, threatens if I leave. Entries detail bruises hidden under long sleeves. Isolation from friends, that final fight where she wrote, "If I disappear, it wasn't by choice." The room goes silent. Michael wasn't just a fiancé. He was possessive, volatile, a wolf in sheep's clothing. This isn't a runaway, it's murder covered up with drywall and denial. Twist upon twist, the journal mentions Michael's business trips to nearby states, hinting at more than one secret. Chills right. Lesson here, dog lovers: small town silence lets evil thrive. Speak up about red flags in relationships, because ignoring them doesn't make them vanish. It buries them deeper. Trust me, early intervention could save lives, just like listening to pets who sense danger we can't. But wait, because as Sarah connects the dots, Max's alerts point beyond Willowbrook, unraveling a web that stretches into shadows far darker than one man's jealousy. What horrors await in those neighboring states? Stick around, the patterns of a serial predator are about to emerge, and you won't believe where Max leads next. All right, dog lovers, if you thought Willowbrook's quiet streets were hiding just one tragedy, brace yourselves. Max, our heroic Labrador, is about to drag us into a darkness that stretches far beyond one small town. Picture this. The golden glow of Michigan's autumn fades as Officer Sarah Thompson and her trusty sidekick Max follow a trail that's starting to feel like a descent into hell. That journal they found, Emily Harper's final words, wasn't just a cry for help. It was a map to a predator's playground. Friends, this is where the story explodes, where one scratch from a loyal dog unravels a pattern of horror that's been festering across state lines. If you're the kind of person who believes animals see what we miss, you're gonna want to hold tight. This chapter's got twists that'll keep you glued and a lesson that'll hit you right in the heart. Let's dive into the chilling patterns of a serial predator. And trust me, Max is about to show us why courage comes in 4 paws and a wagging tail. The air in Willowbrook feels heavier now, like the town itself is holding its breath. Sarah's at her desk in the police station, surrounded by yellowed files and cold coffee, piecing together Emily's journal entries. Michael Vaughn, that charming mechanic with a smile that hid venom, didn't just vanish after selling the house on Maple Lane. He left a trail. Entries mention his trips to Indiana and Illinois, always vague, always late at night.
Sarah's instincts scream, "This isn't one crime." Max, lying at her feet, seems to agree, his brown eyes sharp, despite the arthritis creeping into his joints. Labradors like Max, bred for loyalty and scent work, have this uncanny knack for sensing what's buried literally. Think about it. In 2015, a Labrador in Oregon led rangers to a hidden grave in a forest, cracking a decade-old missing persons case. That's the kind of magic Max brings, but this time, it's personal for Sarah. Losing her partner years ago taught her one thing: evil hides where trust is blind. And she's not letting Michael slip through again. Sarah pulls records cross-referencing Michael's movements. Property deeds show he owned a small barn in rural Indiana, sold in 2005, and a trailer lot in Illinois, abandoned by 2008. She grabs Max and heads out the open road, stretching under a gray sky, the Labrador's nose pressed to the car window like he's already tracking a ghost. First stop, that barn, tucked in a forgotten corner of Elkhart, Indiana, overgrown with weeds and secrets. The air smells of damp hay and something sour metallic. Max doesn't hesitate. His limp slows him, but his focus is razor sharp. He beelines for a patch of dirt behind the barn, scratching with a purpose that makes Sarah's skin prickle. They dig, and here's the gut punch. Not one, but two shallow graves. Bones, weathered clothing. A tarnished bracelet etched with Lila. Dental records later confirm Lila Monroe been missing since 2003, and Hannah Cole, 27, gone in 2004. Both last seen near mechanic shops where Michael worked odd jobs. The patterns emerging: friends, young women vulnerable, drawn to Michael's charm, then silenced. But why? Let's unpack this, because understanding monsters like Michael matters. Compare him to real predators like Ted Bundy, who used charisma to lure victims while exploiting trust in tight-knit communities. Root causes: often, it's a cocktail of control issues and past trauma. Psych studies suggest 60% of serial offenders report abusive childhoods, wiring them for dominance. Consequences: entire towns lose their sense of safety. Neighbors in Elkhart whisper about that nice mechanic they never suspected, mirroring Willowbrook's denial. Contrast this with urban cases. Cities have cameras, task forces, but rural areas like these, understaffed police, and mind-your-own-business culture let predators thrive. Common mistake. Ignoring drifters like Michael, who blend into small towns, dismissed as just passing through. Lesson here: if someone's too good to be true, watch closer. Charm can mask chaos. Back to Max, because this dog's not done. In Illinois, at a crumbling trailer lot near Peoria, Max alerts again, this time to a rusted storage shed. Sarah's heart races as they pry it open, revealing a locked metal box buried under loose dirt. Inside, a chilling trophy. 6 necklaces, each engraved with a name: Emily, Lila, Hannah, and 3 others yet to be identified. But the real twist, the one that'll make you gasp, comes when Max whines at the shed's back wall. Sarah notices scratches. Human scratches, etched deep, spelling out, "Help me." Forensic teams swarm and soil samples confirm blood traces recent enough to suggest Michael didn't stop in 2004. He's been active maybe as late as 2010, hiding bodies across state lines. Sarah's blood runs cold. This isn't a cold case, it's a serial killer's resume, and Max is tearing it open. This twist flips everything. Michael wasn't just a jealous fiancé. He's a calculated predator, moving from town to town, preying on women, society-overlooked waitresses, loners, dreamers. The necklaces. Not just trophies, but a ritual. A sick claim of ownership. Sarah's mind flashes to cases like Canada's Highway of Tears, where dozens of women vanished along rural routes, ignored because they weren't high profile. The mistake: police silos Indiana and Illinois never shared notes, letting Michael slip through. The consequence: more graves, more families broken. Data backs this up. The FBI estimates 50 active serial killers in the U.S. at any time, thriving in gaps between jurisdictions. But Max, he's bridging those gaps, one scratch at a time.
Lesson for us. Push for better systems, national databases, cross-state task forces because silence between agencies buries justice. Sarah's not sleeping now. She's haunted by those names, those necklaces. Max senses it curling closer at night, his warmth a reminder of why she fights. But the story's about to get wilder. As they chase Michael's trail, Max leads them to a place that'll test their courage, a place where the past screams louder than ever. Hang on, friends, because the horror's about to expand, and Max is pointing the way to a truth that'll shake you to your core. Buckle up, dog lovers, because we're plunging into the heart of this storm where the stakes are life or death, and our hero Max the Labrador is pushing through pain to chase a monster. Picture a misty dawn in southern Illinois, where the air hangs thick with the scent of swamp water and secrets. Officer Sarah Thompson, her eyes gritty from sleepless nights, is now neck-deep in a manhunt for Michael Vaughn, a serial predator whose trail of bodies spans 3 states. But it's Max with his graying muzzle and unwavering heart who's leading the charge, proving that loyalty doesn't quit even when the body falters. This chapter's a roller coaster of heart-pounding confrontations, and trust me, it's packed with twists that'll keep you on the edge of your seat, whether you're driving through the night or curled up with your pup. We're diving into the relentless pursuit, and if you believe dogs are family, this one's gonna hit you hard. Let's go. The trail's gone hot, and Sarah's following Max's nose through the tangled wetland lands of southern Illinois. A maze of cypress trees and murky bayous that feel like they swallow light itself. Tips from locals, whispers about a drifter fixing generators for Cash Point, to Michael hiding out here a ghost, slipping through small towns. Sarah's got 2 U.S. Marshals with her, their boots sinking into mud, as Max limps ahead, his arthritis screaming, but his focus unbreakable. Labradors bred for grit and heart don't back down. Think of Bretagne, the 9/11 rescue dog who worked ground zero until her paws bled. Max is cut from that cloth, his nose catching traces no drone or thermal cam could match. They're closing in on a derelict cabin half-rotted on stilts, tucked in a clearing where Spanish moss drapes like mourning veils. The air's thick with decay, and Max's ears flatten he's onto something. Inside the cabin's a time capsule of despair, moldy blankets, empty whiskey bottles, and a faint coppery smell that makes Sarah's stomach lurch. Max beelines for a corner, pawing at the floorboards with a low whine that's more grief than alert. They pry them up, and here's the first twist that'll chill you: a hidden cellar carved into the earth, barely 6 by 8 feet. No windows, just concrete walls, and a rusted cot chained to the floor. On the wall, scratched in desperation, are names: Emily, Lila, Hannah, and 2 new ones, Mia and Claire. A child stuffed bunny lies in the corner, its ear torn, and Sarah's heart stops. This isn't just a hideout. It's a prison. Real-world parallel. Think Ariel Castro's Cleveland house, where 3 women were held captive for a decade, missed because neighbors ignored cries as just noise. Root cause: predators exploit isolation. Rural areas like this swamp lack oversight. Consequence: victims vanish with 600,000 missing persons reported yearly in the U.S., half never found. Mistake. Dismissing odd behavior. Locals saw Michael called him quiet and looked away. Lesson: if something feels off, report it. Your gut could save a life. But hold on, because Max isn't done. He circles back outside, sniffing frantically near a pile of brush. Sarah follows her flashlight cutting through the fog, and they uncover a trapdoor under vines. Down a rickety ladder, they find a second chamber, and the twist that'll make your heart race: a teenage girl. Mia Collins, 16, barely alive, tied to a pipe. Bruised, dehydrated, but breathing her eyes wide with fear and hope. Max nuzzles her gently, his warmth calming her as Sarah cuts the ropes. Mia whispers, "He called himself Michael. Said I'd never leave." She's been missing 2 weeks from a nearby town, written off as a runaway after a fight with her mom. Sarah's team radios for medics, but Max stays glued to Mia, his tail giving a faint wag like he knows he's saved a life. This moment screams why dogs matter. Their instincts outstrip tech. Studies show canines detect scents 95% more accurately than machines in complex terrains like swamps. The manhunt kicks into overdrive. Michael's close, fresh footprints lead into the bayou. Sarah, Max, and the marshals track him the swamp alive with croaking frogs and buzzing mosquitoes. Max's limp worsens, but he pushes on, driven by what Labradors do best: love and duty. They spot smoke, a makeshift camp. Sarah signals for silence, her gun drawn, but here's the gut-wrenching twist. A gunshot cracks through the air. Michael's there, crouched behind a fallen cypress, wild-eyed, a stolen rifle shaking in his hands. He fires at Max, missing by inches, but Max doesn't flinch. He charges, barking fiercely, drawing Michael's aim away from Sarah. It's a split-second sacrifice, giving the marshals time to flank him. Michael bolts, splashing through shallow water, but a marshal tackles him, cuffs clicking shut. He's caught, but not before muttering, "I saved them," from broken lives. His delusion twists the knife compared to John Wayne Gacy, who justified his crimes as mercy. 'Cause a warped need for control rooted in rejection. Consequence: shattered families with Mia's parents sobbing in relief at her rescue. Mistake: underestimating predators who blend in. Michael was that nice guy to locals. Lesson: trust dogs over charm. They see through masks. Sarah kneels beside Max, her hands trembling as she checks him for wounds. He's unharmed, but exhausted, his breathing heavy. She whispers, "You did it, boy," and his eyes meet hers, steady and proud. Mia's safe. Michael's in custody, but the names on that wall, Claire still unaccounted for, haunt Sarah. The swamp's secrets aren't fully spilled, and Max's work feels unfinished. This chase wasn't just about catching a killer. It's about breaking a cycle of silence that let him hunt for years. Friends, if Max's courage doesn't light a fire in you, nothing will. But the story's not over. Justice is coming, and Max's legacy is about to rewrite the rules. Stick with us, because what happens next will leave you cheering, crying, and hugging your dog a little tighter. Here we are, dog lovers, at the end of this heart-wrenching journey, where every scratch from Max, our heroic Labrador, has carved a path to justice. Picture Willowbrook, Michigan, now bathed in the soft light of spring. Its quiet streets humming with a bittersweet hope. The town that once buried its secrets is waking up thanks to a dog who refused to let the past stay silent. Officer Sarah Thompson stands tall, but her heart's heavy. Max's limping steps and cloudy eyes tell her time's running out. This final chapter isn't just about closing a case. It's about a legacy that'll make you cry, cheer, and maybe even change how you see the world. Friends, if you've ever loved a pet, this one's for you. Get ready for twists that hit deep, a call to action that'll inspire you, and a farewell that'll leave you reaching for your dog. Let's dive into the legacy of loyalty, where justice, loss, and lasting change collide. The courthouse in Willowbrook feels like a time capsule, wooden benches creaking under the weight of townsfolk packed shoulder to shoulder. Michael Vaughn, the monster who hid behind a mechanic's smile, sits cuffed, his eyes hollow as the jury delivers the verdict, guilty on 6 counts of murder, 1 count of kidnapping, and a string of charges that'll keep him behind bars for life. Sarah stands in the back, her hand resting on Max's head, his black fur graying but still warm under her fingers. The courtroom erupts in quiet sobs. Families of Emily, Lila, Hannah, and others clutch photos of their lost daughters. Mia Collins, the teenage survivor Max saved, takes the stand. Her voice shaking, but fierce. "He stole my future, but Max gave it back." Her words land like a punch, and Sarah feels tears sting her eyes. This is justice, yes, but it's bittersweet. Max's arthritis is winning, and every step he takes now is a battle. Let's unpack why this moment matters. Compare it to the capture of Dennis Rader, the BTK killer, whose 2005 conviction closed decades of pain for Wichita families. Cause predators thrive in overlooked corners. Michael exploited rural trust just like Rader. Consequence: communities fracture. Willowbrook's now grappling with guilt for ignoring whispers about Michael years ago. Contrast: urban versus rural justice. Cities have task forces, but small towns lean on heroes like Max to spark change. Common mistake. Neglecting canine units' budget cuts often sideline these dogs, yet they solve 30% more cases than tech alone per police stats. Lesson fund and trust, canines, they're not just pets, they're lifesavers. But the real twist comes outside the courtroom, where Tom and Lisa Reynolds announce they're donating their once haunted Victorian house to become a women's shelter named Emily's Haven. The crowd cheers, and Sarah sees hope in the ashes, a place where survivors like Mia can heal. It's a gut punch moment, from a house of horrors to a beacon of safety, all because Max scratched a wall. Back home, Sarah knows Max's time is near. At nearly 12, his hips creak, his eyes dim, and the vet's prognosis is grim, maybe weeks left. One evening on their porch overlooking Willowbrook's River, Sarah sits with Max, feeding him his favorite peanut butter treat. He rests his head in her lap, breathing slow, and she flashes back to his puppy days when he pulled her through grief after her partner's death. His playful nips and boundless energy, a lifeline. The twist that'll break your heart. Sarah finds an old photo in her jacket Max as a pup, tugging her boot during their first training session the day she swore she'd never let him down. She whispers, "Good boy," and he closes his eyes, slipping away under a blanket of stars. No pain, just peace. The silence is deafening, but it's sacred. Max's loyalty carried him to the end, and Sarah buries him beneath a willow tree, a stone marker reading, "Max, he listened when no one else did." The ripples of Max's heroism don't stop there. At a National Canine Memorial in Washington, D.C., a crowd gathers veterans' kids, survivors like Mia. Max, draped in a silver-starred vest, is honored posthumously, too frail to attend in his final days, but immortalized in stories. The mayor of Willowbrook steps up, voice cracking. Max didn't just catch a killer. He taught us to listen to dogs, to survivors, to our own hearts. A new law. Max's mandate passes in Congress, mandating canine reviews for cold cases nationwide, inspired by data showing 15% of unsolved cases could be cracked with animal alerts. Twist. Mia, now in therapy and thriving, starts a scholarship for abuse survivors, vowing to honor Max by becoming a vet. She leaves a letter at his grave. "You saw me when I was invisible. I'll make you proud." Sarah reads it, tears falling, and knows Max's legacy lives in every life he touched. Why does this hit so hard? Dogs like Max tap into something primal, unconditional love that heals. Studies show pet bonds boost oxytocin, easing trauma, yet we often overlook their health in service roles, a mistake Sarah vows to fight by advocating for retired canines. The consequence of Max's work. A system changing, with 10 states adopting similar laws by 2026. Contrast this with the past cold cases used to rot in files, but now dogs are rewriting justice. Lesson: cherish your pets. They're heroes in waiting. Friends. Max's story isn't just a tale, it's a call to action. Share your own pet hero stories in the comments. Did your dog ever sense something you couldn't subscribe to keep these stories alive? And let's honor Max by supporting canine programs or shelters like Emily's Haven, because one dog's bark can break the silence, and together we can make sure no victim is forgotten again.